Welcome to another episode of DIOTALK. I'm Dio. Let's talk. I would like to welcome my guest of the evening. He's a talented comedian. Give a warm welcome to Victor Mendoza. Welcome to the show, bro. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. I love this background you have.
Thanks, man. That's the
logo,
brand.
huh?
Yeah,
it's the brand.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. See, I'm too much of a nerd. I don't want people to not notice that I don't have a Boba Fett hat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I got paintings up here that aren't on camera that I did. I have a painting of Rambo that I did a while back, and ADHD is a thing, man. I'm just saying, right? I did these two really badass paintings one day, and then just stopped right after that. That's how it works.
Yeah. So you draw as well?
Well,
You're
did.
an artist?
No, I don't consider myself one. I just, you get hyperfixations, which is kind of like what happens. You know what I mean? You kind of get into it, and when I want to get into something, I want to know how to do it really well.
No,
and
there you go.
And then that was it. After like two, I was bored of it and then moved on.
You got it out of your system.
It happens. But yeah, man. Some of the things I do. I do stand-up comedy. I'm based out of San Antonio, Texas.
Nice.
If anybody wants to, find out where I'm at or what's going on, you can find me at Vic Mendoza Comedy. That's on mostly all around the board. That's Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram for sure. I am also a content creator. I do a lot of, I'll share my stand-up, of course, but I'm also working on a lot of these ADHD awareness videos that are going to be kind of funny.
Got it.
There are symptoms about ADHD that some people that even have it and that are diagnosed don't even realize that is a symptom. And it's kind of interesting to me because talking to somebody like yourselves, like you could be an entrepreneur, you're a podcaster, you got so much going on, and you get into it. There's a good chance you have it because you're following your passion so deeply.
Oh no, I definitely have it.
You're diagnosed. Good for you, man. Good. I guess the long-term goal for that is I want to kind of bring awareness, not just to the people that have been diagnosed late. It's more about this affected me as a child. And if you're a parent and you're suspecting your child to have it, go get them checked. That's kind of the long-term goal, just because of how much it affected me. I'm sure you could relate. I don't know how old you were when you got diagnosed.
Well, I definitely didn't get diagnosed. But I know I have it. But my son, he got diagnosed with autism and some
ADHD.
Yeah. So I definitely I do understand. I think we all have it.
Yeah,
a little bit here and there. Some more, extensive than others.
Yeah.
But it's definitely real.
Yeah, I kind of look at it as like not everybody has anxiety. Like not everybody is has clinical anxiety, but sometimes we're anxious.
Yes.
It's kind of the same thing. We're like, not everybody has ADHD, but sometimes we'll kind of do some ADHD things every now and then. And a lot of the videos I share, they're like, I don't have it, but I do that sometimes. Like when you walk through the door, when you like just kind of like go into another room and all of a sudden you're like, why am I here?
Yeah, you kind of forget and zone out.
You forget, yeah. And that happens more often to someone like me. It's called the threshold effect, with the doorway effect. And it's basically what it was is that your environment around you changed so suddenly. And it reset your brain. You're like, what? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I get it.
And then you go back to your room. You're like, I needed my wallet. And you come back out and you're like, well, what was it again? Like, it happens to you twice sometimes.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's very true. That's very true.
Yeah.
So what inspired you to start doing comedy?
I would love to just kind of give you the cliche answer, like, oh, I was the funny guy.
Or was it because you're diagnosed that it goes hand in hand and helps?
Nah, I think it does go hand in hand. I won't say that it doesn't, but that wasn't why, because I started doing comedy before my diagnosis. I'm 35.
Okay.
And I got diagnosed at 31.
Oh, okay. It's been 5 years.
Yeah, roughly. And I think it, like I said, it goes hand in hand because of that. But what inspired me to do comedy was, being 16, and I always used to watch those comedy specials, those 30-minute ones on Comedy Central all the time, and those were great. But I was never always expressively funny. I was always kind of more like, I don't say much, but when I do, like, okay, he got me on that. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't so, and sometimes I would be kind of considered an a-hole for what some of the
Like
things
sarcastic.
incredibly sarcastic. I think I just had to do it. So I started out comedy by doing podcasts, actually.
Oh, nice.
I had a podcast a while back called The Morning After Pill Show.
That's a
And
great name.
exactly. And if you look it up, there's still episodes there. It's me and a friend of mine. We had great chemistry. One day we'll bring an episode back here and there, you know what I mean? But it's not as often. But I really enjoyed two aspects. One, I was making people laugh. You know what I mean? Like the podcast was so funny to them that people would tell me that it would get them through their day. Like, oh, I was having kind of a depressing day at work, and I put on your podcast, and damn it, that was funny. You know what I mean? Like, and that felt good. You know what I mean? It's hard to do comedy, like doing some of your like stand up on a podcast. I kind of just realized recently, but it is better to have comedic back and forth conversation too. So, when I went to go try out and do stand up at the open mics, I sucked. I was so bad. And every comic bombs. Don't get me wrong. You've seen it before. I don't know how often you go to comedy shows, but every now and then you go to one and you're like, that was uncomfortable. Like it made people feel weird sometimes. And it's just that's how bad I was doing. And then like the first type of material, like a lot of new comics do this where they kind of like they want to do something more dirty. They want to go hard and rough in the paint. And that's how I started, and it wasn't going well. And then eventually I started to study the comedy. You know what I mean? Like I learned about the writing technique, and I learned some here and there. You know what I mean? I even took like a late night online class one time from some guy. Yeah, so I took some writing courses. I mean, I'm grateful for that. Now I still just, I'll kind of every now and then just kind of rewatch some of the video because it was a Zoom class like this, and I will also like go to some YouTube channels that I really follow. As far as like good writers, and there's a lot of like channels out there that are very informative in that kind of meeting me, some people are like, he's not very funny, like he's cool, he's not funny though, he doesn't say anything. Like, I'm quick-witted, but people will be surprised by it, you know what I mean? Like and I remember my mom did two things. She cried when she found out because she remembered me being a kid, like, I want to do that. And then two, I would have like some family members come up to her, and she'd be like, I don't understand. He's not been very funny. He's always been kind of a quiet kid. And her answer, this is such a mom thing. She goes, yeah, he's been watching all of you dumbasses for so many years. He has so much to say, and trust me.
Boom.
Yeah.
Boom.
It works. And yeah, I am a quiet person. I'm kind of a hermit sometimes, man. I am, but I'm a watcher. I'm a very analytical person. I didn't realize how analytical I am until like I meet someone else and I'm like, did you notice this and that? They're like, what? You know what I mean? And it works. So on stage, I'm very quick when somebody wants to react to me, and I'm very, you know what I mean? So I started building up this reputation of being like quick on the crowd work. And then, started writing more, and I fell in love, man. It's the one thing I don't want to stop doing. I love that it's making people happy. I love that people are laughing. And one of my favorite things is I'm turning material about myself that I used to be ashamed of. You know what I mean? Like, I used to be ashamed of my body hair or being chubby, can't lose weight. And then I make jokes about it, and it's making people happy. It's an empowering. It's a very, like, you know what I mean? Like, who cares that I'm fat and hairy? No one cares, but what they care about is an everyday situation dealing with that. You know what I mean? Like how you get embarrassed, like taking your shirt off as a kid. I'm in 8th grade with full like this was already happening in middle school. Like, no, I wasn't left for that. It's fine. It's fine. Accept it. Move forward. Do something with it. And that's what I did. And I try to tell people that, like, even everyday life, like, embrace your failures, embrace all that. What you consider as something that you're ashamed of, because that's definite personal growth and empowerment.
Yeah,
You
100%.
know?
I feel that 100%. It's very true, very true.
Yeah.
How long now have you been doing this?
I am creeping up on my 5th year in
Okay.
December.
Okay.
Yeah. I didn't I mean, if you want to consider like the first year of just doing open mics, some people do, some people don't, you know what I mean? I did because I learned, I took the steps on that. And I remember when I first started getting a paid gig, it was the day before our city shut down because of the pandemic in San
Dang.
Antonio. I was like, yeah, I did a show, man. This is awesome. I can't wait to keep it going. You're not doing anything for 2 years.
Wow. Yeah, basically.
So, that time though, I took it. Yeah, basically, yeah. I things I didn't really do. Then made some moves, but I came back at an early time during it. So a good establishment when the world reset around here. I think that helped me out a lot too.
How long like
What
do
about for
you
you?
me? Well, with the
Yeah, like
podcast?
no, well, not just the podcast, but how did did you start podcasting? Were you podcasting during the pandemic times?
I started on like I released my first episode on January 4th of
Okay.
I want to say 2021
Mm-hmm.
or 2020. Well,
And
I'm going on 2 years now next January.
nice.
But it's something that I always wanted to do. It just, you know, didn't know how to start.
Yeah.
And then I would see, people that I admire that are successful at it, because you always look at the people who are successful to see how they do it. That's what inspires you,
Yeah.
right? Um, and
Right.
and
Right.
come to terms. I'm not made of money. I don't have fuck you money. So
No, no.
I had to figure it out, right? I had to figure it out,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, same.
I just did it. I recorded, pre-recorded like I want to say 8 to 10 episodes, and I said,
Yeah.
I said fuck it. I started releasing once a week, and
Yeah.
once a week, and just I focused on building content and consistency
Yeah.
rather than because a lot of people focus on follow, hashtag, subscribe, but they have no continuity of they have nothing. So for the last 2 years, going on 2 years, that's what I've been focused on and building
Yeah.
general episodes of distinct individuals that come on and tell their stories. And I just
Yeah.
I I just wanted to talk to people, have an organic conversation about life, see what they're doing, and hopefully create a
Yeah.
platform where they can get noticed.
Let it let it out. Let it
Yeah.
out. I'm real big on that. One of the things I don't necessarily teach comedy, trust me, I don't deserve a place in teaching comedy, but I do for some reason. People come up to me and go, "Hey, what do you think I should do for my set tonight, or what should I do about this joke?" And people will ask. You know what I mean? That's an honorable thing. You know what I mean? Like I still get weirded out by it because I still consider myself a new comic in the scene. Sometimes I'm making big moves and all that stuff, but I haven't learned everything. I don't have my full final character. You know what I mean? I'm not in final form up there at all.
Mm-hmm.
I always tell people, don't rush to that. Like, we get inspired by someone, that's not the next step at all.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm doing open mic and then here I am doing a Netflix special. I should probably go overdose on drugs now. Like, it's, there's an entire process in between that we all forget about sometimes. And it's like, growing the crowd and, go do podcasts or
Mm-hmm.
go introduce yourself. Your material when you're on stage, like, I could go up there and tell some jokes. Yeah, they might be funny. Don't get me wrong, but I guarantee they hit better, and your content is so much sharper when they just know something about you. They're not going to tell you that's what they want.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody will ever say, your audience will never say, hey, like, we want to know everything about you. They won't say that, but it works. It helps. And I've always loved that idea. So I make it to a point to write more about myself. So when I go up on stage, I don't expect everybody to know me. I expect to have a good time, and I get up there and I make a connection, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And then I'll tell them something about me. I'll tell them something about my family, work, all that stuff. And next thing you know, I'm telling my story and having these experiences come out. And, if my set's, 20 minutes, I'm
Yeah.
done. But if I have more time, you're not going to care about what opinions I had about,
Mm-hmm.
Chris Rock getting slapped in the face. You're not going to care. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to care about certain things. You're not going to care about how I feel about Kanye. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No. You know what I mean? Like, it's all things that happened. And, you know, it's all things that you want to work towards to. Like, we all know the famous comedians like your Bill Burr and your Dave Chappelle, like all of them incredible comedians. Don't get me wrong, but we know them as who they are. We know their types of opinions. They earn that.
Mm-hmm.
That's what that is. That's
Mm-hmm.
exactly what that is. It's not just, oh, I'm famous. It's people know who you are. You know what I mean? I think that's the bigger impact. People can know who you are just through the podcast, just through what you're doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. I think that,
And
one of the keys is being relatable.
yeah,
If your audience can
and
be relatable to you, not necessarily mean that, some audience are, very vocal and what they think, or what they want to say, but just, you know, that you share the same thought process and you don't make
yeah,
them feel
yeah,
alone, right? And that's what's important. You
yeah,
want to be able
yeah,
to connect with each of your fan base, and it's, I think, as you like you I remember the grandmaster himself, gentleman called Seiko, right? The best advice he ever gave me was, you got to go and make a mess.
yeah.
You can't
That's for sure.
you can't worry about who's thinking or not, or what is perfection or not. You just got to go and make a mess, and you'll figure it
Man,
out, And these people,
man,
like you said, like Dave Chappelle, Bill Burr, these people, you admire them, but you don't want to become like that. You want to form and create your own shell, become, Victor Mendoza,
right,
right? That's who
wow,
you want to be. You just
that's
help.
right.
What makes them best, you add it onto your arsenal and evolve yourself.
Yeah, the relatable thing,
Yeah.
and making a mess. I already got good stories for you. So, I'll go with the relatable. We'll go with the positive one first. Uh, Relatable. Like, just for example, I make videos for ADHD awareness. One of them I made was about the intrusive thoughts. Like, it's especially like when you're driving, and I'll tell you what I mean. Like, you could just be driving and all of a sudden you go, what happens if I just slam into this car right now? And it's just a quick thought. It's a quick, you don't want to do it, but it's like, man, like so many things would happen right now. Like, like you just want to get away with it. That's known as an intrusive thought. And that's kind of how I inform people. Like, if you've had these thoughts before, no, you don't have ADHD. No, I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist, right? But that is considered one of the symptoms for us to do it more often. Like, you could be, on a rooftop bar and you're having a good time. And you're like, what if I just kind of like do this with the table and make 50 people? No, no, don't say that. And yeah, that's I did a video like that while you're driving, and so many people responded with like, I thought I was insane. I thought I was crazy. Like, you do that? And I was like, yeah, all the time. Like, I'm thinking about doing it now. Like, it's just kind of fun to see like people responding to me that way, and thinking that, like, letting them know, like, no, you're not a serial killer. Like, it's just,
Oh
you're
shit.
okay. I get it. Like, sometimes, somebody wants to make you mad, you want to punch them in the face and you don't do it. Technically, that's an intrusive thought. you know and it's like, it's feel better about it, but don't do it. You know what I mean? Like, don't. And then making a mess. I when I first started out and I had one of my first big shows that I was put on, it was in front of 100 people, right? I got so nervous, Dio. I rewrote my entire set. It was like 8 minutes worth of material that I had to do, and I rewrote it. I didn't look what I had. I was like, no, I don't do it. I did this long bit about the entire United States having herpes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was fun.
no bueno,
No.
no bueno. Yeah, no, it didn't go well. Yeah, I went with facts. You know what I mean? I went with like I was reading off charts pretty much, and I was like that. No, it was funny to some people. Don't get me wrong, but I wasn't gonna get more from that. Nobody knew who I was. Nobody cared about that opinion. And definitely learned a lot that day. So that was the mess that I made, and it held me back. People didn't want to book me again. People, man, people were like, "Yeah, just don't do that again." And maybe we'll see. You know what I mean? Like nobody wanted to put me back on their stage again, and that makes sense. I don't blame them, but I also had to work at getting back up and getting made up again, and there's been some struggles there. Yeah,
I find that crazy because there's worse people saying even more fucked up shit, and they still get on the
yeah,
stage. They don't have the as much of difficulties. So like, I find that shit ironic, but you live and you learn.
yeah. Again, like if more people knew who I was, maybe they wanted to hear that kind of, you know what I mean? Then
Mhm.
I would have had a following of people that would have been like, "Do you know how I feel about America's herpes?" But that wasn't the case. They don't know who Victor Mendoza is. You know what I mean? If you Google my name, it takes you to a jazz singer right now. Like I need to get past that guy first, and then I can start thinking about getting past more comedians.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
it's
like I said, that's the struggle we all go through, right? But
yeah,
it's the most important part of one's growth. And when you finally get
right.
there, there's not gonna be you're not gonna go back to that, right? So you gotta
No,
that struggle, you gotta learn how to appreciate it and live it. That's what keeps you
yeah, and it
driving.
makes you so much stronger. It makes you so much
Hmm.
stronger. Sometimes I'll see people doing material of that type of conversation. Again, it's funny. You know what I mean? I'm glad you have that thought, and I'm glad you can write that joke.
Well, you're you're
You know,
you're you're in Texas, right?
yeah,
Do
absolutely.
do you like so like I mean Texas natives can be very defensive on certain topics. So you tried.
Uh, so I'm in San Antonio. Again, these topics that I was doing again, like know well, they don't work for you. Stop doing that. Start working your way on getting people to know you, and that was like the goal. And I focused on that process. That's going to be a key word, right?
Hmm.
So, like content creators and people that want to write a book, or people that want to not necessarily like most books, but in order for a story to go well, you want to get to know who the protagonist is, right?
Hmm.
That makes sense. So, like getting to know people throughout your story is kind of how you just do that. Everybody has something to share. Everybody has something that they go through. It's just finding a way to get it out there. You know what I mean? And finding a way to like make it fun while you do it. You could be on a cooking show, or you could be you know, you just do a show where you like take care of dogs. Or you could whatever it is, you know what I mean? Like everyone
Hmm.
has their like passion. There's a niche for everything. You know what I mean? Like they sell hoodies for chihuahuas. You know what I mean? Like if they've already made that already in the 90s, we've had a lot of time to like to discover ourselves and to get discovered. How could that be possible if you haven't found yourself? And you can write that down. I'm just kidding. It's just I don't know. I'm ranting at this point. I'm going on. I've been in a very passionate mood today.
That's
I
dope.
did a
It's good though.
yeah, dude. Yeah, I it's because I saw my psychiatrist today, so I
Well, we
cried a
all
little,
been there.
and it's not abnormal. Yeah, yeah.
We all been there.
Uh,
That's great.
and it was a real grateful conversation too. You know what I mean? I was like, I really appreciate everything you've done. Before I got diagnosed, I was man, I don't know how familiar you are with any of the symptoms, but I'll go over some key ones and we'll see if you relate. Let's do a checklist. Let's diagnose you right now. I can't do that. But there is executive dysfunction. Basically, if you ever feel like you've kind of been frozen and you don't like paralyzed in a sense to where you don't want to be able to do anything, like you can't go wash the dishes, you can't go pick up shit, you can't, get up and go to work on time. And then on top of that, you feel lazy, but you can't sleep. That's a form of executive dysfunction. I think that's one of the biggest downfalls of ADHD is that doesn't get talked about because it is when we make all of our biggest mistakes in our lives. I mean, I was with a woman that was a nightmare for 7 years because of just ADHD alone. Like I didn't know how to get away from it because I was afraid of these like certain separations because of how unemotionally or emotionally unbalanced you are as well. And so like being on top of that, I say it saved my life. I'm not gonna it's incredible now because I know that I have this issue. So now I base things off of how badly my brain can go sometimes. So when I want to write, I have created a flow, like a streaming flow of my writing system. Basically, I wanted to be able to do that with everything I do. Editing, any like editing software. Like I have videos that I edit. I created myself a fast way to do that, and now it's like my goal. You know what I mean? Like I'm gonna get this first, and then I'm gonna start making a bunch of videos. So it makes me want to do it more. Yeah. Around the house, you know what I do to cook because I just made some chicken. I use spray bottles instead of like putting oil out and stuff like that because I'm afraid of I don't want to clean up this mess. I don't want to do this and that, and it's not exciting to me. So I put coconut oil in a little like spray bottle, like the ones you see at the barber.
I do the same thing.
That's how I cook. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. See? We're okay. We got one. There's rejection sensitivity dysphoria, and that's a big one. All that really is that whenever you do something or say something, you kind of feel like, oh, this person doesn't like me. I don't know what to do, and you start to get worried about it, and you're overthinking that. Yeah, you start over just like you lose it. Yeah, you do that sometimes, and that's all that really is that over analytical part of your brain just overthinking this, like, oh man, and then like the next time you see this person, they're like, what are you talking about? Like, yeah, like you called me a bitch, but like I know you didn't mean it, and I was like, oh, cool. And that's just that happens, you know what I mean? Like, so you have that. Let's see.
Was it because of the relationship you went out and seeked help?
No.
Or just like you told you held yourself accountable. It's like, hey man, something's wrong. I gotta go check myself out.
Yeah, I've always been suspicious.
Yeah,
I've always been suspicious. Like I guess that's kind of how like where we would say some people stand is like I'm suspicious of this, and like I started to learn about some of these symptoms, the outside symptoms that don't get talked about. When I went to go see my psychiatrist, I told her, yeah, like I have this executive dysfunction and sometimes I struggle sleeping, and I thought she was gonna get it. You know what I mean? And no, she gave me antidepressants. She prescribed me something else, and it's not her fault. You know what I mean? I heard her out. I was like, okay. She said like you'll become productive on this, and I was like, okay, I hope so. And instead, it made me depressed. Like
that's not bueno.
Yeah, I ordered Domino's. You know what I mean? I was like, yeah, only depressed people do that. That's got to be a thing because I never even thought about ordering a Domino's pizza before until I became depressed. You're not sponsored by them, are you?
No. You know what's crazy? I do. It's ironic because I know a lot of people that eat Domino's and they're they're very sad.
It was a joke, but yeah, I mean,
maybe there's a connection there. I don't know.
Yeah. maybe, but until I took those meds, I was like, yeah, I want some pizza. And all it really was is that pizza makes you feel better, right? It releases dopamine, and that's what ADHD is. It's a lack of
Yeah.
dopamine. You don't feel rewarded for everything you do, and you want to keep going more and more and more and more. And that's because your brain is constantly like, oh my God, it doesn't shut up. And I keep saying I have 11 streams of conscious thinking going on at once, like even right now. And just the fact that I can hold a conversation these days is
Yeah.
incredible. And so like I didn't start wanting to get help until a couple things. Like I've been suspicious, and I met someone, like I got into a relationship, and she and I kind of like talk about the symptoms. We share a lot of these same things, and I'm like, all right, like it's not weird. It's
Hmm.
not, I'm not. It's not a disease. You know what I mean? It's not like I can give it to somebody through a one night stand. You know what I mean? We'll go get drunk and then like call her later, like, hey, you're gonna have to get checked. You might be forgetting a few things. You might want to. You're gonna have to write down your parents' birthdays
Oh
because it's
shit.
been a struggle mine for a while. You know what I mean? Like it's not like that. It's just how your brain is. It's, it's what you're literally born with. So in order for me to get diagnosed with my psychiatrist, I had to say, now at that point, like I just said those key words, and she was like, okay, cool, now we can talk about it. And it's weird, and I get why, because the meds that you have to take is kind of sketchy. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Hmm.
I was like younger. I messed around with it a little bit before. I didn't know what it was for, and I was like, "This feels awesome." I didn't know that at the time. I was enjoying those drugs because I feel incredible. Like my girlfriend, for example, she goes, "Yeah, I have ADHD." When I knew I had ADHD, when I did cocaine and I felt normal, she's like, everyone's like, "Let's go party, let's go do this and that." She was like, "Let's go do some yoga." And I'm like, "Yeah, yeah." There's a doctor friend of ours was like, that's a thing, right? She goes, yeah, that's some of those crazy drugs. That's when people offer me cocaine out in the nights in the bars and stuff like that. Like, look, man, I like it too much. Maybe it's best we do that. It's just,
Talk to me about like your what's your writing process like? Like it's once you get like, is it something that is going to take you time to develop an act or a certain I don't know the correct terminology, but like is it quick or is it something you need to develop?
a bit.
Yes, there you go, a bit.
Um, yeah. So I do. It's like two things. Does it take me long to come up with something? No, not at all. And I can put out something I want to talk about in, about an hour. Maybe it'll take me like an hour to come up with like a solid like minute and a half joke sometimes. I know it sounds like a lot, but maybe less than that. It could be done in 10 minutes, really, to be honest with you. But I kind of like to put in some effort. But in order for a joke to be done completely, I will let you know when that happens. I've I've been doing some of my best jokes are the ones that I've had been doing for the longest time. And the reason I say that is because like I do a bit about being overweight and hairy. You know what I mean? And it's kind of like how I open up with I introduce myself about like the first thing you see is my appearance, so that's what I talk about, right? So I was like, so what you can't see is that I'm hairy. And and I'll kind of go into this little bit about it. And I used to kind of fall in more about the overweight thing.
Hmm.
And now I talk more about kind of like because I'm losing weight. So I'm like talking more about hairy. And I started it out with this part where I go, yeah, I'm so misshapen and hairy. I look like a gummy bear that you just picked up from the carpet. And I'll pick up the gummy bear and I'll like blow it into the mic, like you know what I mean? And I'm like, see, nothing changed. And I start feeling like the gummy bear, you know what I mean? I'm like, this is me. And moving forward as I do it more and more, you know what I mean? Like I've changed things about that joke over and over again, and it's becoming a better joke as it grows. Not my oldest joke, but it's like one of the ones that like it's the one that gets the most experience because that's how I open myself up with as far as when I get out there. And so now one of the newest things I'll say is like I'll ask, I was like, hey, ladies here like the hairy men, and like usually nobody says anything, right? And I'm like, okay, good, because you know what I mean? I was like, that makes sense, because if you like, go to hairy man on Pornhub, you only have like 300 videos, and that's it. And like more, like that's nothing. There's not a niche for that. And then if somebody says something like, woo, yeah, like they get all turned on by it, you know what I mean? I would kind of be like, oh, you're a red flag. So I always like, you know what I mean? I've always kind of like tried out different
Yeah.
things, and you kind of
Interact with
figure,
the audience, which is good.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I always have like a plan A, plan B on certain jokes now, you know what I mean? I'll even like add it on, when I was podcasting, I got sponsored by by a company that wants you to shave your nuts, you know what I mean? They want you to manscape. They're like, you got to try the product out so you can talk about it. And I was like, okay. So I talk about that moment where I'm looking at myself in the mirror and I'm hairy all over, but clean right down there. And I used to just kind of leave it at like, oh, that looks weird, you know what I mean? I kind of look like an upside down Christmas tree or whatever, you know what I mean? I kept on I kept on trying to come up with new things to say. So I'm like, you go to Google Maps and you go look at the Grand Canyon, you do satellite mode, chef's kiss. And now like, the people laugh at that. And then I'll even add another one sometimes if it didn't get that much. I'll be like, yeah, it blew my mind. You know what I mean? It's just nuts. And I'll kind of like wave my hand down my nuts. And it's just nuts, And then I'll wait for a minute because that one always takes people time. And so I learned the pausing too. You know what I mean? Like learn to let the joke hit sometimes. And then people
Yeah,
go,
timing is
yeah.
everything.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen
Yeah.
a lot of I've had several actors throughout my podcast journey, and we talk about the timing, and it's like there's a lot of famous actors that started off with comedy, and once they mastered the art of timing, they become these incredible actors like Jamie Foxx,
Right.
one of them.
That guy's incredible at everything, though.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah. And as far as I know, he's an incredibly nice guy too. Like you don't really get both sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Very private though. Yeah.
Yeah. No, you got to respect that. Yeah, and kind of going back on like the writing process, like I could also do like I've done this before too, where I've practiced my little streamlining writing thing so often to where I'll look up a headline or of something trending, you know what I mean? And I think the last one I did was apparently I forget what city it was, but um very fancy laundromats are becoming a thing. Like
yes,
classy
yes.
yeah, I guess that's a thing, right? It's not a thing here, but I was like, what? So I was like, I've never seen that in Texas or anything like that. But I guess the one day where all of a sudden, instead of like a whole bunch of little kids, running around using the N-word, it's gonna be like people popping champagne, and there's a rapper with filming a music video in the background, and you're still in your like skeezy like stained up jeans trying to get laundry done. Like, what? When did this happen? And people died laughing on the material that I had for that. And I was like, thank you. I wrote that like 10 minutes ago right there on that table, and I'm glad you laughed at it, because I'll never say it again. And it was me literally practicing that if it works, basically, is what I was doing. And I try to do something like that all the time. Like, I'm not a sports fan, but I'll make fun of it and I'll talk about it, And even when I say that, like, I'm not a sports fan, I'll lose people sometimes. Most men are like, what? And I'll explain why. I think I did a joke one time where I was making fun of the interview. And I know you've seen this before where they're like interviewing the guy who just won the game. He just made the last winning touchdown and he's sweating. He's like, and then you're asking him to talk. He probably has a concussion. And you're asking him to go, so how do you feel about the game? What was your thoughts that last moment? I'm like, I'm sure his thoughts were like, if I get through this right now, I'll get to go eat and have Gatorade and go to bed as soon as possible. But instead, you're like, well, coach said to to do this thing, and we did it, and like, I thank God for the team. And then like on the bottom of the TV screen, you'll see them like put out like the university they went to. I'm like, no, don't do that to the poor university. Now people aren't going to go to that school. They made him sound like an idiot. And I'm like, nobody sees that the same way I do, obviously, but it's just kind of funny because those are all little facts that do happen, but nobody sees that. It's like looking for those things. It's hard to do sometimes, but you do it all the time. You know what I mean? Like, you'll watch something and you'll be like, I've ever noticed how blah, blah, blah. People are like, no. But if you do that as a joke and you're doing it on stage in front of a few people, all of a sudden they're laughing because they did notice that. They just didn't admit it to you.
That is very true.
Yeah.
Yet again, being relatable.
Yeah, that's all where it falls down to. And you're creating a connection too. Like, you know, you always want to like say something that, lets them know that you're a human, and kind of like showing an invulnerability right away is one of the best ways to do it. That's why I do the hairy, like fat guy jokes, you know what I mean? And then I'll even like, then I'll start to go on and like share different stories, and those stories hit better if they got to know something about me, you know what I mean? So I would like set yourself up on some of those things. Like some of the things I've written about are like, my family dragging me to Mexico. And I'll even say it, like, if anyone else drags you to Mexico, it's usually a kidnapping, but my parents made me do that all the time. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
And, here in the States, my parents were always up my ass. You know what I mean? They are up, like, it's a very Hispanic thing. Tu sabes. But like, and as soon as they like took me to Mexico, they're like, "Oh, you can go wander around if you want." And I'm like, "Wander around the town?" And I'll be like, "My parents left me unattended in Mexico," and I'll pause and look around, and I go, "You guys remember what country I'm talking about? I'm 11 years old, unattended, undiagnosed ADHD. I stole a school bus once, and which is true story. The way I do it in comedy is I'll say, I stole a school bus. It was easy, blah blah blah, and I'll mention this part where the school bus had a fire extinguisher and I blew it out the window, right? And it went and it covered the entire street. So me and the guy who kidnapped me got away easy afterwards. But in reality, what happened is this happened when I was like 16, maybe 17. Me and a friend were just wandering around a town in Mexico. I was able to bring a friend from like the neighborhood, a good old friend, like best friend at the time. And he was kind of one of those troublemakers. You know what I mean? It's not something I ever would have done on my own, but he was like, let's break into this school, which is that's not how you start a conversation, right? And
for no reason.
No reason. I was like, okay. And we do, and I'm wearing a marching band hat, and like I feel bad, you know what I mean? Like we just stole like school property, and then took the bus. No one stopped us. Nobody. Like we did it. It wasn't daytime, but it was still like early evening. It was still like 7. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
wasn't that late, and we just did it, and he was the one driving, 16-year-old driving a school bus. If you see that in Mexico and people look at you and they're just kind of like, oh, well, this happens all the time. It's normal. So nobody stopped us. And then I literally did shoot that fire extinguisher. It did cover everything. And then he just left it there because we didn't know how to turn it around. And that was that. I was like, I turned that experience into a joke. And instead of saying, you know what I mean, like I was 16 when it happened, I just said I was an 11-year-old boy that was unattended, and then I got kidnapped. You know what I mean? Like the kidnapping part is the surprise. That's kind of like the whole like that's the last part of the joke. It's like, oh, he also got kidnapped.
Punchline.
Yeah. It's a misdirection is what they call it. There's like different styles of laughter if you want to like ever study comedy. Yeah, misdirection is one of them. And then some of my favorite ways to put things out there too, and even just in regular conversation. I do another one where I had a job, and I compare it to a cult, and it was a job that I really didn't care for. I was there for a long time, and I always notice how like cheerful everybody is. Have you ever been like in a place like you ever been to Chick-fil-A? You ever been to there like where everybody's like in such a good mood? It's a lot like Chick-fil-A. Like everybody's so cheerful. I'm like, I don't like that. Like it's creepy. It bothered me. Like like this isn't real. This isn't how people really are. Like they'll stop doing that. Like they want real people. And I had a management position. Like I was like a up there manager. And I remember the training. They flew me out to a private jet and all that stuff. And they like talked about the owner for about 3 hours. And I was like, yeah, they do that when you join Scientology too. Like and they made us dress like him. Like we had to wear what he was wearing in some picture, and like one of the pictures he's wearing cargo shorts. So like you could wear cargo shorts to work. I'm like, oh, that's cool. I'm like a 30-something-year-old man, and they want me to go recruit people, picking up like like college kids for this job. I'm like, young lady, would you like to change your life forever? And like those are things that cults do. I'm like, that's why I could do this comparison. But the last part of it, the misdirection, as I had great benefits though. Like, they gave me like dental, vision, and a second wife.
That was a very good one.
Yeah. And that one I wrote just with like the system. You know what I mean? I wanted to write about my last job feeling like a cult so bad, but I didn't know how to get it done.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked into how like authors, poets, bloggers, even podcasters and people that do scripts and stuff like that. Like, how do you fight writer's block? Well, there's not a lot of material out there for comics to do it. There's a couple people out there that do kind of focus on that, but there's not as much as it would be for other types of writing. So I started looking into that, and I was like, this is gonna work. And I come up with a system, you know what I mean? It's like, it's a who, what, when, where, why type thing. And then you have like lists and all kinds of stuff. You know what I mean? It makes it so much easier for my ADHD brain to list everything out in front of me and make these lists and work out a joke. And then I get to try out all of the things that I did for that one joke. That's why it takes me 10 or an hour sometimes. Uh, the thing about like that is now that I have a startup for it. And then if it works, I keep using it and I keep using it and I start to grow it and I start to grow it. And then it grows naturally from there, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah.
It's easy to get a joke written now for me. To fight the writer's block. And now it's doing the material over and over in front of paying customers. And that's where the pressure comes, right? Like paying customers. He's like, I can do it in front of an open mic in front of other comics all the time, and they won't really say much, you know what I mean? Or pay attention even because they're waiting for their turn to go on and they're not focusing, and I don't blame them. That's what I do. It's funny that I felt like I created something amazing. You know what I mean? Like, oh man, this is in like something. And then I watched this video that was posted like 10 years ago by a comedy club class,
Mm-hmm.
and they use the same exact system. I was like, I didn't invent shit. But I came up with it on my own, and that's great. That's the best part about it. But I was like, oh well, at least I know that I'm on a good path with it. With something. I wasn't the only one that thought about it that way, and there's no way. You know what I mean? We were inspired, and you want to be inspired by more than just the podcaster. You want to be inspired by the guy who does the editing a little bit too. You want to be inspired by the guy who's coming up with the material. You want to be all that stuff. It does help to look in, I guess, I don't want to say under the covers because it sounds sexual, and we're two men. It looks better to look behind the curtain and just to see how everything works, especially if you're running something by yourself and hope to one day grow an empire. You don't get given empires. You have to grow it. You have to learn everything about your empire.
Gotta nurture it.
You gotta nurture it. And then you can't, they don't just happen on their own. And I'm not planning on growing an empire. That sounds crazy. That means like, somebody will go to war with me or something like that. I want to do the things I love, but I want to do it right. You know what I mean? I don't want to, not that I'm saying that I don't want to have a manager, but if I'm going to have a manager, it's someone that I trust and someone that I could actually tell them that this is what I'm looking for. This is how I used to do things. Let's go from here. You could teach people how you want to do things now, especially if you're running something that you like, like
I mean, it's solely your future. You know what I'm saying? It's investing in people.
Yeah.
And that's what experience comes in. It's important to have that.
Yeah.
It's like you go to a job and you after so much years of experience, you learn how to negotiate your salary,
Right.
right? So I mean, I think you got your head screwed on the right way,
Yeah.
and I think you're doing it. Just
Time.
give everything time, and everything, it's like a seed, it's like a flower. Everything needs to grow. You just got to plant in it. You've been planting for 5 years, and next thing you know, you'll be a whole name, like
Yeah.
and that's the beauty of it.
That's the beauty of it. I always tell people focus on the process, man. Focus. Don't worry about the goal. If you focus on the process, you will already have walked past your goal before you know it.
Yeah.
And that's the way it should be seen. You know what I mean? And I hate to see some people they got the right heart.
Mhm.
Just stop looking so far ahead. And
It's just we live in a time that everything they want it so fast. They have an
yeah.
answer so fast, and comedy is one of those things that it's not something you can. It's not gonna happen overnight.
Look at social media growth.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like the best way to retain fans and followers is to grow them organically. You know what I mean? Like do something that's going to get them to want to follow you. Let them know that you're out there, and then they'll stick around. But if you do something like buying followers and stuff like
Hmm.
that, it doesn't last as long because they didn't really have an interest in you to begin with.
Correct, 100%. Yeah.
So the organic slow growth is always the best way to do it. Take things slow. You know what I mean? Like when you are you married? Are you single? You got
Married.
kids? You said you're married. You're married with a kid. How many kids
Mhm.
do you have?
I have one.
One.
Yeah.
Did that make you sad that it was one, or
No,
you
no,
want more?
no, no. I'm good.
I'm good.
Um, I'm good.
Well, I mean, I really am happy to hear that. I am. The reason I bring that up is like the solid relationship. You know what I mean? Like the solid relationship is when you take things a little slower, you take time to talk about each other and talk to each other, and the ones that like rush it, those are your red flag bad relationships that you don't want to deal with. I moved in with a girl when I was like in my 20s, and she just was the first one to ask. You know what I mean? That was it. And she was a smoke show. It turned out she was a monster. It was a nightmare to live with. She used to hit me while I was asleep and go, "Why were you talking to that girl at the bar?" I was like, "I've been asleep for 5 hours. You were at the bar. It was probably the other guy you were trying to fuck." And and like just finding out all of the cheating and all that stuff, I was like, I should not have gone into it so fast. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, lesson learned. So after doing it a second time, I'm finally learning my lesson. And yeah,
Oh shit.
I fucked up how true that is too, man. I'm with somebody now, like healthiest relationship I've been in so far. You know what I mean? And like I'm grateful for her. You know what I mean? Like we talk to each other about everything. And and when she met me, I was very jaded towards women because of being heartbroken twice. You know what I mean? Like you've just like heartbroken like so often. You've been betrayed so often. Like anytime a pretty woman wants to talk to you, I'm like, what? You know what I mean? Like I don't care what you're gonna say to me. I don't have anything to offer you. Thank you for coming. I don't and like the sad part is that women like some of the ladies that like are, in that I'm not saying every lady, but the thirsty ones that want trouble like that. And I'm like that's not what I was going for. You know what I mean? Like you're a red flag now. And just yeah, but I never really show that much interest in like a lot of women right away because I'm not. It's because I don't trust everyone anymore. And it wasn't just women, it was just like my friends because I got cheated on by these girlfriends with some friends. You know what I mean? Like I was like, oh, okay. I couldn't trust anyone. So it made me like jaded and quiet and it made me a hermit. I have a friend that calls me Obi-Wan because I just stay quietly and I'm back there with a beard. I don't say anything, and then I come out and like do comedy, slay it, and then like go back to being a hermit.
That's good though. I mean,
Yeah, like
pain.
Jamie Foxx.
Yeah, pain is it's well, that's different because
I'm fucking with
he's a little thought, so he got to keep his,
you. Yeah,
um, but you
thought.
gotta pain is good.
Yeah, I
If
mean,
one thing we learn is, you're able to talk about it, digest it, laugh
yeah,
about it, and move the fuck on.
yeah. And it's, most men struggle with that. I know that much. Most men will struggle with just talking about it. And I get a lot of people coming up to me like, hey, I'm going through something right now, and I give them advice on how I would do things, and then I'll get feedback like it helped. You know what I mean? I'm glad. Like again, I'm no expert, but I did take the time to learn for myself, and I'm always happy to share the knowledge. And it's always kind of been like with everything, comedy, anything that I do or work. You know what I mean? Because I still have a job. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some of these shows that I'm doing, I'll do a show and I like, oh, $400 for doing 20 minutes comedy. That's amazing. And then I'll do a show where I'm performing in front of 350 people at a club, did 10 minutes and I make like $50. I'm like, so it's not consistent yet. You know what I mean?
But
So
you're gaining something.
I'm getting something.
Yeah.
I book and produce shows as well. I do it with a couple guys. We're called Dub Excel Comedy. Look us up. And we put on shows twice a month, sometimes once. We just got new venues and stuff like that. But that's where I started to go, oh, this is how you can make money in comedy, and this is how you can support your passion. You know what I mean? Like it still becomes work. You still have to put something into it, and you still have to focus on the marketing and all that stuff, just like I did for myself. It's like working on a whole other comedian just on its own, and worth it though. And even then, like the first money that I got from it, I'm like, we're not spending any of it. We're using this to invest in new things so we can keep growing until we get to a certain point so we can
Yeah.
start. Yeah,
Reinvest.
yeah, reinvest this money. And there's been a couple times where we've had to, we had a bad show, not a lot of turnout. We had to take out so much from what we've earned but like that's why it's there. Like, and I know sometimes they're like, oh, I need to use this money for this and that, and I'm like, I know. I'll get you like half of what you need, and then I'll personally pay you the other half, and then we'll call it that, and just pay the other half for the company. And I'll do things like that. But
At the end, it's a business,
at the end of the day, it's a business. Sometimes I don't own it. We all own it together. But I do a lot of like the back stuff sometimes, and sometimes I'll say things that are very CEO of me. You know what I mean? I'm like, I don't care how you feel about this. We need to get this show done, and I would like kind of walk away, and I'm like, man, that was cold. That was Donald Trump cold hearted right there. You know what I mean? I'm like, that literally came out of my mouth, and I feel bad. But like, they understand. Like, and when it gets said to me too, I'm like, yeah, yeah, you're right. Like, you asshole. But yeah, like, so there's all these different aspects in comedy when it comes to like, what you can do with it. Then there's like the social media thing. You know what I mean? Like, if you're creating anything. Comedy is content that you're creating, and the next thing you know, now I have to do like Facebook Reels and Instagram, like more, like this whole thing. Yeah, there's
What's your favorite like what platform is it's easier for you to manage?
uh, that's a good question, man.
Because like
Uh,
for me, like when I first started when I first started my company, my media company,
yeah,
everyone was like, "Oh, you gotta get on this, you gotta get on that," and next thing you know, you got like 5, 6 account trying to manage all of them.
yeah. My main focus right now is YouTube.
Hmm.
Um, Mainly because hell, exclusive right here. I'm working on doing YouTube not just as a stand-up comedian, but as a YouTuber. Um and I don't know if you know exactly what I'm trying to say there, but I'm gonna actually not just, show my stand-up clips, but I'm also gonna be showing, clips like from like these types of interviews where I'm
Mm-hmm.
getting interviewed
Mm-hmm.
and people get to know me. Again, it comes back to that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also going to be doing things like playing games that I want to try out, and you guys are going to get to watch. We're going to watch this movie together, and you're going to hear my commentary. We're gonna,
Right.
yeah, we're gonna go through a subreddit that just caught my attention, and I'm like, guys, you have to see this. And then I even intend on bringing people in with me, like like one of the subreddit things. The subreddit is called Creepy DMs, and it's exactly what that is. It's weird DMs and creepy things that men say to women in their inboxes. And I'm like, this is hilarious. Like, first of all, nobody talks about this. And two, if I bring a female comic on there, I'm getting someone with perspective and a sense of humor to join me on this conversation. Like, that's to me, that sounds perfect. And then I'll also be doing like a community thing, which is something that I think everybody should do. You know what I mean? So I want to bring in like a group or a Facebook group and a subreddit of my own and call it Searching for the End of the Internet, because the internet's a strange place. Internet is weird. The internet is full of information and it's free. You can learn anything you want to learn, but it also has this video. And then I'll probably like end up showing a video where it's like, I think I saw one where it was like in a theater, there's a bunch of people watching it, and there was like a guy wearing a shorts, and the shorts extend out up to another guy having to put his face in there. So it's kind of like shorts in the beginning, t-shirt at the end, and his face is in it, and you put some microphone to his face, and you can just hear him going, oh, like, I was like, okay, this is definitely going up there on that. This is weird content, and I think it's funny to just like express that out there, and having the community help me find it is probably one of the best ways, because then like I'm getting everyone involved. I want to do something like that where people are involved. So I am in the middle of episode 5 as far as recording goes. Once I hit 10, I will be pushing out 5, and then followed schedule the rest right behind it. So by the time I'm done
like
there,
I would say episodic, weekly episode.
Yeah, I plan on doing 2 a week. And not, I don't want to go too long into it, because so much time, so many things we got going on top of that. Like, I want to be able to like maintain retention. I want to be able to make sure that it stays versatile. The niche, what's the niche? It sounds like you got a lot going on. The niche is comedy. The niche is making people laugh and making people happy. It's just, we're talking about different things. You know what I mean?
You can do different. It's an endless possibilities.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun, but I've also, again, I've studied or looked into what I have to look into on creating a successful channel. You know what I mean? So I'm not just going to go in and go, I'm going to do whatever I want. Like,
nah, fuck. You gotta listen, man. Just the hardest part is just doing it.
Yeah.
You're gonna go through down a fucking rabbit hole, and you're gonna end up doing a how-to YouTube channel.
No. Hell no.
Right?
Those are the only ones that do well too.
Yeah. You gotta look at it like the conversations I've had with people in the background, right?
Yeah.
It's it's like your channel is like a Netflix. It's like Netflix, Paramount, Hulu, Disney Plus. That's what it is.
Yeah.
That people have taken that and created a how to. That's your channel. This is from there. It's what you're gonna create and see how you can now create it in the world on a big stage, right?
Yeah.
So just I tell everybody who wants to and this is me just telling, because I know you're fucking ask my advice. But it's
who are we, right?
Yeah. But just fucking do it. Just do it. Just do it.
I know I'm not reinventing, I know I'm not inventing something new, or I'm not doing something like, entirely different or like brand new. There's 50 million YouTubers that do something similar to this.
And don't call yourself a YouTuber.
There you go. That's good advice right there.
No, for you create your network. It's Mendoza network. You create your own network. Honestly, don't call yourself, like, I don't call myself a podcaster.
Yeah, okay.
Fucking, if it wasn't like, if I wouldn't know, if I wouldn't know what I know now when I first started, I would never call this shit a podcast.
Yeah.
Like I went and I got my certificate with Michigan State University on journalism, how to become a journalist.
I like that.
And I got my ID from this fucking company, which is like, it's a real ID in journalism, right?
Yeah.
And the reason I got it is because all I wanted to do was to talk to people, just have a chat and tell me your story.
Yeah.
Like you've been telling your jokes, how you broken down. Like that's all I wanted.
Yeah.
And I built this far.
Yeah.
But you know, I don't want to put myself in a niche.
Yeah. I like that.
I don't want to do that because like right now, you look at my catalog. I got singers, I got fucking rappers, I got
Yeah.
comedians,
I know.
I
I
got
take it a look.
I got fucking real estate agents, I got paranormal activity people, investigators. Like, so just fucking do it. Don't give yourself. You already have you already have a label. You're a comedian,
Yeah.
which gives you the license to say and do whatever the fuck you want.
Pretty much.
And people can't say shit because you're a comedian. Like the smartest people on earth, honestly, are comedians. You know why? Because they're always researching, always reading.
Yeah.
They're always trying to perfect their craft. If anything, like it's a large, it's a lost art and trying to educate yourself on so many things.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people just they're stuck on one thing. Like I understand that that was a business,
Yeah.
you know, and it's making you money.
Yeah.
Then that's fine. But it's like, you know, it's you know, just do what you gotta do, bro. You're
Yeah.
gonna be fucking great.
I love this come to Jesus moment you gave me right now. I like
It,
that. I
listen,
needed that.
man, I'm I don't, you know, I don't consider myself success, right? I don't
Yeah.
that's what you success is what you believe in, you know,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But you're doing it.
Yeah.
You are 99% doing more than other people. Other people just it's just a thought process.
Right.
They don't actually do it.
Yeah.
You actually, you know, you're doing it. So therefore just fucking do it.
Yeah.
You know, and I sit and like if you look at my catalog again, I talk to so many fucking people. I got from autistic uh teachers, um, dog walkers,
Yeah.
former EMTs, fucking gamers.
Yeah.
One of the big things that have got them so far, just fucking doing it.
Just do it.
Just do it.
Just do it. Watch what happens. Watch what
Yeah.
happens. Yeah. Yeah, we've been through it. You know, I told you that it's just like my story from the beginning. Like I went up, I did comedy, it sucked. And it was
Yeah.
bad. And I didn't want to get and nobody wanted to book me. And then here I am. You know, if you look at my calendar right now, dude, like even I get excited. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
and I have some of those moments where I'm like, let me brag to myself a little bit, and I put my calendar up to like a celebrity comedian's calendar, and I'm like, they
Mm-hmm.
look the same. Like it's not a tour, you know. I'm not touring from, but it looks the same. Like look at all these shows. Look at
Mm-hmm.
look at the different cities I'm going to. Look at the impact I've made. You know what I mean? And it feels so good. And then I even looked at a one that I made before, where
Mm-hmm.
I'm showing dates. There's only 3 of them on there. And I remember telling somebody like, because they had asked me like, why did you put that up there? There's only 3 dates on there, and I was like, because people should know where I'm gonna be. If you want to come see me, I got these 3 dates. I keep getting asked, hey, when's your next show? When's your next
Mm-hmm.
show? So I'm listening to the people asking me these questions. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh well, here, let me make this for you, put it out there. And I saw that, and one of the best things that was cool and that happened, and I noticed a lot of artists should do that. You know what I mean? And they do that, where they put their dates up, and then next thing you know, they get more because one, they're seeing that you're in demand, they're seeing when you're available, they're seeing that they're going to be coming by my city pretty soon,
Mm-hmm.
so they start doing this, and they start like it just the littlest thing, and just putting your calendar up there. You know, you can make it look as fancy as you want. That doesn't matter too much as long as it's not like, unesthetically pleasing.
Mm-hmm.
But like the information was there, and
Mm-hmm.
somebody that's looking for a comedian or looking for a singer or anything, a magician,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, doesn't matter. Put yourself up there and go, hey, I'm going to be in Vegas, I'm going to be in Arizona, I'm going to be in Utah, and then I'm going to Texas for these 3 days. You start seeing that, and somebody from New Mexico goes, hey, I got this venue, I got an open spot, let's get this guy.
Yeah.
And those are those little things that like put you out there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Self promotion.
Self-promotion. There's and I always see people are afraid to do it. Like they feel pretentious, and I'm like, I don't feel pretentious. I feel like I just want to put it out there.
Mm-hmm.
Just do it, and look what happens. if it doesn't work out for you, you can try again in a different way, or just don't do it. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter what it is. You know.
Do you remember the first time you even tried to get on the stage, right? How difficult
Yeah.
that was.
Oh man.
You
They
know,
gave
like, yeah.
you 5 minutes. I did two. I read it off a note. I was sweating the whole time. I made one person not laugh, but he tittled. He kind of gave like a little and that was it. I was like, oh, that it was heartbreaking. Not as heartbreaking as it would have been if I put more effort into the writing. But that's where you learn that. You know what I mean? Like, well, I could have done this differently. But getting past that point where you get upstage and you just like have to talk to a whole bunch of people and you just bomb, like you kind of got to get that out of the way. You got to get that like, okay, this could happen again anytime now, and it still happens. You know, I still have these days where like I'll do these jokes and like nobody laughed, and I'm like, oh, cool. Like
Yeah.
you know, but I've even learned then, like when somebody doesn't laugh at a joke, like I even have like little returns, you know what I mean? Like, you know, thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Uh, I hope you guys learned a lot this evening. Or it just depends on the joke too, because I do a joke about my dad. He has dementia, and I won't go too far into another joke or anything, but like there'll be sometimes there was the first like couple times when I was doing that joke and people weren't laughing. I was like, one, I need to work on the joke. Two, what I said out loud was like, I guess everybody else here has dementia because you guys forgot I was telling jokes, and everyone just started laughing. I was like, cool. At least I'm learning how to recover myself, which is a skill that just happens when you just keep bombing.
Yeah.
And sometimes people respect the he can bring himself back. He can save himself. That's a whole new beast. Like I said, I don't think I'll ever be done learning it. I don't think I'll ever be done getting better. I mean, you see some of these people have been doing it for 25 years.
That's the fun part.
Yeah, like they look like they're up there exhausted, tired. They don't even feel like being up there, and they're killing it. They're making everybody chuck like laugh as hard as possible. And I'm like, man, I gotta like animate myself sometimes. I gotta, you know what I mean? Like I'm not there yet, and it's impressive. I still meet people that you know that I've never met before. I haven't heard anything about or anything like that are just blowing some of these famous comics out of the water. And I'm like, man, what are they doing? To where like why aren't they at this certain point and stuff like that? Like it's incredible. I learned more from them than I do from like, you know, a Netflix special. Especially because you get to see the audience reacting in front of you. And there's a
Yeah.
lot always gonna be something to learn, man.
Have you ever thought about like doing also Spanish comedy, like in Spanish?
Yeah, my Spanish is still sounds it still sounds like a white guy trying to order something from a menu. Yo estoy hablando español toda mi vida, pero porque you know, because I was learning here in Texas, like yeah, that's the accent I picked up instead. And you know, nothing against like what my parents were doing, or you know what I mean. Like, I didn't have that many conversations with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you know, I want to say they were
You're
going
more
through something. Yeah,
Americanized.
absolutely. But this it's just who I am. You know what I mean? Like, I still love that there's Mexican culture behind me, and I still have
Mhm.
pride. You know,
I mean,
but
you know, you get the more you do it, the more you get better at it. It's double money.
yeah,
Get booked English and Spanish.
I know. I
I
keep
don't
getting
think
told.
I don't think I've ever seen that be done.
I did what is it, by the beach in Mexico. I did a show there, and I was like worried, you know what I mean? I was like, my Spanish sucks, it's not gonna be any good. And then like the first comic went up and they're like, Ashley something. I forgot her last name already. And I was like, what? Like and there was in English. I was like, oh, it's tourists. Thank God. The closest, but um, you know, I'm still working on that. I still want to try out this whole little like writing system thing in Spanish. It's just I don't flow as well. You know what I mean? Like I'll break up and I'll be like, oh shit, I forgot that word. And it's just simple dumb brainy brain not doing brain stuff good. And like, you know, I want to, and I have tried a couple sets at an open mic already. Um at a like on the south side San Antonio.
Mhm.
Just just it wasn't even a comedy club. It wasn't a comedy night. I was just like, hey, can I give this a shot? And they're like, yeah, cool, man, you're killing it anyways. And I was like, it's gonna be in Spanish. They're like, what? I was like, yeah, it's just 5 minutes. Let me see if I can do it. If it didn't go well, you won't see me again. And so I haven't been there ever again. And we'll see where else they'll let me try it. But it's also kind of more like having more conversations with my parents and stuff like that too. Because if I am doing it in Spanish, automatically that's going to be an older crowd.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, all right, that makes sense. So like, I'm gonna go talk to my like parents and my uncles and aunts and stuff like that and see how this goes.
Well,
So
here's an idea, right? So you take a month and schedule yourself only on Spanish podcasts.
yeah, okay,
I mean, you could come here again. I record in Spanish. Uh, I've never had the opportunity. I have done one episode in Spanish.
really,
Really, it's because nobody it's willing to do it.
yeah. I wonder what that is. I mean, I'm guilty of it too, but I wonder
Mhm.
why.
Well, in my experience, it's just you're Mexican, I'm Puerto Rican.
Right.
There's not really a good support.
Yeah.
When you like, I grew up in Puerto Rico, I grew. That's the majority of my life,
Yeah.
right? So like over there, you live in the Caribbean, right? So Friday comes 5 o'clock. We're going almost parrandial. We're
Yeah.
going drink, so the
Yeah.
entrepreneurship and that, how do I say it? That thirst to build an empire, like we we're talking earlier, it's
Yeah.
not there. So nobody's really with it. Nobody's really trying to do that.
Yeah. Let it go.
Yeah, unless you're like in Mexico or you're in Puerto Rico and you're writing books, you're doing all this shit. But I only had one who's a good friend of mine growing up. We chopped it up, but nobody's it's bold enough to do it. So English is just I've been grateful that people just hit me up and just
That's
do it.
awesome.
So like I said, those are here welcome. We chop it up in Spanish and write some shit down and then we'll see where we
We'll
go
go
from
from
there.
there. Yeah. It won't be as long. Yeah, I guess there's just so much more comfortability in speaking
Mm-hmm.
English. You know what I mean? It's what I was educated in. It's not anything other than that. I spoke Spanish at home, but like my Spanish kind of remained at that. It's like my Spanish is still that like 8-year-old that you know what I mean? That
Yeah,
like
yeah,
still
yeah, yeah.
quiero más tostes, ma, tengo hambre. You know what I mean? Like you just sound like
Basic,
a
yeah.
needy little like survivalist trying to like get your way around in another country. It's basically all I sound like. And I've accepted that part. You know what I mean? That took forever for me because I used to think I was fluent in Spanish like crazy. And then like uh until I heard I have a Dominican friend, a comedian, and I was like, I can't keep up with you. I didn't even know what you said. Like, and I
Well,
understand.
and to your defense, like Dominican, they talk super fucking fast, super fucking fast. So
Yeah, it's funny to hear him speak in English to go to that because in English he's like me, real calm, real slow pace. When he tells his jokes, he like takes his time.
mm-hmm.
And then he's talking to his wife, and I'm like, dude, who hit fast forward on this dude like crazy? There's like a times 20 on this guy.
Yeah,
It sounded like a blur, and that's fine. Like,
yeah,
I was even because in Mexico the Spanish isn't that fast. Even Puerto Ricans are still faster than ours. I'm like, man, like chill out. You sound angry.
yeah. No, Dominicans are because
Yeah,
my dad, I'm half Dominican too, and
yeah.
when I speak with my father's family, it's I gotta no offense, but I need you to take it more slower. I need a process
Yeah.
because it's fast and there's a lot of noise effects. Oh, la vaina. Oh.
Yeah.
But
Where
no.
are you located now?
New Jersey,
New Jersey.
New
Woo-wee.
Jersey. As far as her,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, a little bit. I've been. I did some time out in the DC, Jersey, New York area for a little while last year. Uh, Always that they were so well receiving of my material too. Like they laughed at everything I said, and then I come back here and like I'll try some of that similar material, the growing that I did, and
But
they're like,
that's the thing
what are you
that
talking about?"
home hits you hard.
Yeah,
Home is different. Home is different, but that's how you know you need
yeah,
more you need more work on your craft. Because
always.
once you return home and you start killing it,
That's
that's it.
different.
That's
That's
that's how you
different.
know you're at another level.
Yeah, yeah. Things have changed these past couple of years where it's been nice to where like, everywhere I go, I'm, well received. I'm starting to get people like, "Oh, let me follow you, let me buy a shirt, let me buy," you know what I mean? Let me like that is the coolest thing. Like I'm, even like the small towns, like those have been the funnest ones to me where you're like in a small town, almost in between states. You're like, I don't even know what state this is. Like here we are performing and like the place is always huge. They don't have anything else going on in this town. So you better be good. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
you turned off country music for this. And we need to be as entertaining or not better, and let's kill it. And it works, and that like getting their attention, that and like I've done comedy like at a nightclub where
Mhm.
like you know what I mean, like they don't want to do anything but listen to like hip hop, listen to the DJ
Mhm.
to do some beats and stuff like that, and they're like,
Yeah.
coming up next, this is comedian, and you can already tell they're angry. You
Oh fuck.
can already tell they're angry. So like I actually do really well in those types of situations because I'm like, man, y'all look pissed, man. I don't have any beats or anything like that, but I can get a hype man if anybody wants to come up. And like sometimes I even do. Somebody will be like, "Oh no, just sit right there and just say yeah every time." You know what I mean? And I'm like, "We're gonna make this work. We're gonna make this work." I always do something to get the audience involved, and that always has fun. There's been some shows where I've said like 8 things and then like the crowd will be so involved in what I was talking about. uh I they're helping me write the joke as we go, and I'm like, yeah, let's do this, let's crowd work, let's do it. Like it's so much fun. In Austin last year I did a lot of hip-hop events, like festivals, and they had me like MC a couple of the shows and stuff like that. And I was like, this is insane. Like you guys party differently than we do in comedy. That's for sure, man.
Mhm.
Like a lot of us are going to bed by 9. Like you just now started looking for hoes. I'm like, yeah, it's
But that's
fun, man.
good. That's good. You putting yourself out there. That's the most important
Yeah.
part.
Yeah. Don't limit yourself. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I think you've been pretty big on that kind of thing yourself too. Like I can see that. Don't limit yourself at all.
No.
You can bring your craft to anything, and that's what I like about comedy. Is that comedy lives everywhere. You know what I mean? Comedy is in your movies. That's already a big one, right?
Mhm.
There's obviously stand up. We can make a few people laugh on this podcast episode alone. Music could be comedy, poetry. You get it. Like there's jokes. You getting told jokes like kindergarten. You know what I mean? Like from the very beginning of your life. Like comedy was always there. To hear that sometimes people say, "Oh, stand up," can be kind of it's a dying art for certain things because sometimes the system will let things crash and burn. And I go, that's gonna happen for the bad ones. That's gonna happen for
Mhm.
bad comedy. For the ones surviving, you know what I mean. Make sure you keep learning and keep adapting as you go, and put yourself everywhere, just like comedy does, man.
Mhm.
If you can perform for kids and then go do a rap concert the next day, you're killing it. You know what I mean? I have I put together an so there's an orphanage in town here in San Antonio called the St. PJ's Children's Home. I put together a toy drive and fundraiser. It's going to be happening December 11th at
Boom.
Upstage Comedy Lounge. And a lot of the times, and since I started marketing this and started putting this out and asking like, hey, looking for some support. First thing that I got was all these comics like, hey man, I'd love to do the show. And I was like, you understand kids will be there, right? Oh, well, I can help clean up. I'm like, all right, man. Like, I get it. Like, it's difficult for some people to think about like, right, from going from clean to dirty, to be versatile, to be challenging that. And even me, like 100%, I haven't always been clean. it wasn't until recently, like, writing more about myself, and this last year is always, it just happened to be clean. It just happened to be that way. I already don't curse that much. I didn't want to curse a lot on stage, so one of the things I did was just stop cursing off stage. I think because I wanted to transfer that to my stage. That's how it works, basically. Don't stop doing the art. Don't turn it off. You know what I mean? People will say, like, I need to turn it off every now and then so I can kind of rest the brain. I'm like, well, why is it stressing you out so much? You need to get to a point where being on all the time isn't stressful. Work on that, and that's like another thing. You know what I mean? And that, oof.
Well, that alone has to be defined, because if you're happy,
Yeah,
genuinely happy and enjoying what you're doing, why would you turn it off?
yeah,
Right?
yeah.
It's listen, if it's good and it makes you happy, you gotta treat that bad boy like a job, like a 9 to 5,
Oh, yeah.
because you don't
Oh,
want to
yeah.
overdo it, but you don't want to underdo it either.
That's right. Absolutely right. I love that. I don't get me wrong. I like my moments where I'm at home and it's just some light music on, and one of my favorite things to do in the world is turn the AC low, 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 right? And you get that that ugly ass blanket that feels amazing. You know what I'm talking about too. That blanket was made in the 80s. You just throw it over you and you're just like, man, you can only find that blanket at flea markets too. Those are like one of my favorite moments. But even then, I'm not turning it off because I'm still thinking about jokes. I'm thinking about writing about this blanket. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
I'm like, all right, man. Like, these are the things that we need to do. Like, every day, even if it came to music, if I was a musician of some sort and I was writing lyrics, it would be the same thing. I want to write about my story. You can turn it, you can make it poetic, and it's kind of like, transitional, and it turns into sounding like something else. It's always going to be up to the audience, right? With comedy, that's not that you don't have that option sometimes. And I think but that's how I would do it. I would do anything that it was that I was doing, whatever it was that I was in love with. Just like I am with comedy. If it was just my brain was wired in a different way, I would still make sure I was telling my story.
Oh, that's important.
Yeah,
And
that's always big.
yeah, that's all that matters.
Yeah. Hell,
Vic,
isn't that what this podcast is about?
yeah, 100%,
Yeah,
percent, one hundred
yeah,
percent, and that's it's you're documenting every time you attend one of these podcasts or shows.
yeah,
You're able to talk about your story. You're documenting your beginning, your middle, your
yeah,
end, your story, so that people know how that it didn't take you. It didn't happen overnight. You had to work for this shit.
yeah, yeah,
And I'm gonna tell you, like I tell every fucking guest off the cameras, right? Respect,
yeah,
respect yourself, respect your
yeah,
craft, respect the people around you, because not everybody has the hustle or the passion like you have. You've been doing this for 5 years. That
yeah.
lets me and the listeners and viewers know that this is not a type of there's no plan B for this shit. It's
No,
only A, and you're
yeah,
gonna succeed. So, Victor's been an honor talking to you. We got to do this again. Uh, Before we go,
absolutely.
tell the people where they can find you at.
All right, you can find me at Vic Mendoza comedy. So VicMendoza comedy. That's going to be for Facebook. That's Instagram and TikTok. YouTube, it's still just Victor Mendoza comedy. If you want to find me there doing shorts, that's all that's on there right now is the shorts. Until the rest is up, it's up, but you will see it. Then from there on any of my social medias, you can go to the link. That's my website. It's got my calendar up there for upcoming shows and tickets. I got, coming up at least for the next few. I got the 15th, the 20th, the 22nd, the 25th, and the 28th for the rest of the month right there. And then right then I'm already shotting off. I'm booked all the way up till February coming up. Still plenty of room for more, and if I'm gonna be hitting you soon, you know what I mean? That means you heard me, and that means that there's people in that area that want to hear me because I'm coming. It doesn't matter where you are when you're listening, I'm coming.
Boom! There you go, guys. Go support him. Go follow him. Go subscribe.
Yeah,
And then hit him up if you
yeah,
want him on your show. Hit him up. Don't be afraid, and go support a new brand
absolutely.
talent. Have a good
Go
night, guys.
support the
I'm out.
local comedy in your scene.
Boom.
Y'all have a good
Yes.
one.
Have a good night, guys. I'm out.